Hello, and welcome to an introduction to the web-based Texas Railroad Information Management System, TRIMS. In this video introduction, we'll give you a quick overview of what TRIMS is about, how to get a login and password and access the application online, and then we'll review the major components of the application and demonstrate how to work with them. We'll move quickly through the presentation slides, but you can always pause or rewind the video for reference. A little bit of background about TRIMS. This is a project recently accomplished by Jacobs for TxDOT. The basic idea of the application is to improve the tools and information that TxDOT uses to make decisions about railroad crossings, with the ultimate goal of improving railroad crossing safety. The result of this project is a custom software suite called TRIMS, with a secure central database and friendly applications that support the TxDOT Railroad Division and allows for TxDOT and its partners to interact with the railroad crossing inventory. The TRIMS suite consists of three applications: TRIMS Core, Field TRIMS, and Web TRIMS. TRIMS Core is a desktop application for TxDOT internal use only, which allows for powerful data editing, analysis, and reporting functions for TxDOT staff. Field TRIMS is used by TxDOT staff to collect inventory data in the field on a rugged laptop, and that includes taking digital photos and collecting GPS locations. Web TRIMS is the third piece of the TRIMS suite, and it's a web-based application that provides a subset of the internal TRIMS functions for users outside of TxDOT. We'll spend the rest of this video taking a closer look at Web TRIMS. In order to get a login to Web TRIMS, please send an email to the rrd-trims@txdot.gov administrator's email requesting a login. You'll get an email back asking you for some contact details, and once you've taken care of that, you'll get a final email with your username and your temporary password. Once you've created a real password, just follow the email instructions and browse to the URL shown here to log into the application. Okay, let's take a quick look at the panels that make up the Web TRIMS application. The three main application panels are the map, the search results grid, and the crossing details panel. We'll demonstrate in a moment how to pin and unpin them, how to resize them, and how to move them around and dock and undock them. We'll also demonstrate the layout tools that help you to adjust the layout of these panels inside of the application. Let's go right to the demo for logging in and working with the panels. Okay, in Internet Explorer we've gone to the Web TRIMS site, and the first thing that comes up is the login screen. So we're enter the username and password that we've been given. Go ahead and click the login button, and this will be the first time we see Web TRIMS. So inside of Internet Explorer, Web TRIMS looks like a normal Windows application. We have up at the top are pull-down menus for different ribbon bars of tools. And then we have our different panels that I just mentioned. We've got the map panel, we've got the search results panel. Inside of there we have crossings, and if we double click on one of those crossings, it opens up the crossing details in the crossing details panel. You can see that the crossing details includes photos and other crossing information. You also see that when we select a crossing in the grid, it shows up in the map, and we can see the label for that. We can also zoom to the selection in the grid, and that will zoom in on the map at the crossing that we're looking at. Now let's take a look at the layout tools that help us manipulate the panels. Now these panels can be resized, so we can just grab them and drag the edges of the panels to make them whatever size we like. And once I have the panels configured the way I like them, I can click on the Save as My Layout button and always reset the configuration to that panel layout. I can also click the default layout button, and if I say yes to that, I will delete my saved layout and revert to the default layout of the program, so I can always get back to the original. Now I can grab panels and I can drag them around and actually pull them out of their docking And then I can redock them just by grabbing the top of the panel and dragging it to these little arrow boxes. So there I've docked the map to the top, and I'm going to drag it over to the right hand docking box and drag it there. I can also pin and unpin the panels just by clicking on the little pin button in the upper right corner of the panel, and then I can roll back over its icon to see that panel again. So here I'll pin away the crossings grid, and then I can make it reappear by rolling over it. So you can move these all around all you want, and then if you want to get back to your original layout, just click the Reset to My Layout button. The next component that we want to review is the GIS map. The map panel provides a base map for the whole state, as well as railroad crossing locations and center lines. We'll demonstrate the buttons and the tools shortly. We'll take a look at the map tools that you can use with your cursor, the one-time map command buttons, as well as the tools that you can use to select crossings and turn on and off map layers. So with that, let's get right to the demo. Alright, so we wanted to take a look at the map component of the application, so I'll first pin away the crossing details. We don't need to look at that for now. And I'll pin away the grid for a little bit. First thing I want to look at is the expandable legend. Just click to expand the legend that shows you the symbols on the map for different crossing types: passive, active, private, grade separated, or closed or abandoned. We also see symbols for crossings that have been selected and are in the grid, or crossings that are selected but not in the search results grid. You just click that legend to collapse it. Now I'm in the pan tool right now, so I can just start panning the map around. Then I've got a zoom in tool. Click to drag a box to zoom in. Also have a zoom out tool that works similarly. Just click on that and drag a box to zoom out. We also have a measure distance tool. Click on it once to start the measuring, and then drag your mouse to see the measurements. You can click multiple times, but you have to double click to quit measuring. We can also zoom previous and zoom next, and we can also zoom to the full extent of the map, which in this case is the state of Texas. While we're at the full extents, we'll take a look. The railroad network is a toggle that I can click on and off to see the railroad center lines turn on and off. Now let's zoom back to where we were, and let's try some selecting with the selection tool. So I can click and drag a box and select multiple crossings, and I can drag again to select others. I can click the clear selection button to clear that selection. I've also got two base maps, the street map or the aerial map. So if I click the aerial map button, that toggles to aerial, and you can see that we have Bing's aerial map as a background, which is a very nice background base map. Then we can toggle back to street map and zoom back to the extents. And that is it for the map demonstration. Try playing with the map yourself a little bit, and you'll get the hang of it quickly, I'm sure. The next component that we want to talk about is the search capability of web trims. In the demo, we'll show you how to work with the various search tools and buttons, including creating your own searches, setting a default search that opens every time you log into web trims, and running quick searches based on the crossing number. We'll also try out the tools that let you interact with the search results more easily. After the demo, try creating your own searches in the application. If you work for a railroad, for example, try creating a search of all the crossings for your railroad and making that the default search that runs every time you log in. Alright, for the crossing search demo, I first want to get to my layout and then go to the crossing search ribbon bar, and you'll see that I have run a search. My default search is all Travis County crossings, and I see that in the search results grid there are 227 of them. So I'm going to pin away the crossing details and increase the size of my grid a little bit. I just want to show the interaction with the map. So if I select some crossings in the grid, they start to appear in the map, and I can actually zoom to the selected crossings in the map and see the extents of those crossings, and then as I roll over them I can see the crossing numbers. Alright, let's pin away the map and let's focus on the search results grid now. Some of the tools that I have include the Show Selected button, which shows only the crossings that I've selected. So I'm showing 4 of the 227 crossings in my grid. I can toggle that off and show all again. And then I can select all of the crossings with the Select All button, and I can clear that selection with the Clear Selection button. I can also sort ascending or descending, just like in Microsoft Excel. And then I have a filter button that lets me filter any column either based on individual values by clicking on them, or I can create a little mini query such as show rows with value that contains, and I type in part of whatever that column might contain, like 4476, click filter, and now I'm showing 37 of those 227 crossings. I can also clear that filter and then get out of the filtering. I also can group the grid. So if I grab a particular column and drag it to the top, I will now group all of the crossings in the grid by that column. So here I'm grouping by railroad, and you can see inside that I see all of the Capital Metro crossings, and now I can filter again and filter for only Austin, and now I'll see that I've got Austin only filter that is grouped by railroad. And when I open another group, I will see all the Austin crossings for that railroad. I can click the Reset Grid Layout button anytime I want to get back to the original layout of the grid, showing all of the crossings and without any sorting or grouping on. So the searches that can populate my grid are all in a list box on the left-hand side. And with any of those searches, I can either run the search, I can edit the search. If it belongs to me, I can delete the search, and I can pick any of those searches and set it as a default so that that's the search that runs when I open up Web TRIMS. So I can change that anytime I like. Now let's go ahead and create a new search. So I'm going to click the Create New Search button, and I'm going to give my search a name. And in this case, I think I want to create a search of crossings in Austin that are public and that have cantilevers. Web TRIMS only allows me to search for crossings, and on the left hand side I have a long list of search fields that are available for output into the search grid, and I can pick those and click on the buttons in the middle to move them over to the right hand side to choose them for output. So you can see there's a long list here. And then on the right hand side, I can, if I decide against them, I can deselect them, and I can also click the red button to add all of the common fields that have been pre-selected as good output for a search. Now in the middle we select the search conditions. We can either have AND search conditions that matches all of the search conditions, or search conditions that match any of the search conditions. Generally you want to use an AND because it filters by each search condition. So let's see, first I want to do city equals Austin. So I type in Austin, city equals Austin, and then click the plus button to add another search condition. My next search condition is going to be, I want to have public crossings, so I'll pick a crossing type equals, and here I get a pull down of private or public, and I'll pick public. Then I click the plus button again to create one more search condition. And finally I want to check cantilevers, so I have a cantilevers count. Select that, and because it's a number I get different selections here, equals, greater than, less than. So I'll do greater than or equal to, and greater than or equal to 1 will give me all of the crossings with at least one cantilever. So I can save this search as either a temporary search that's just going to be run now, or a personal search that belongs to me. I can verify the search, and that'll show that it returns crossings. It's easy to write a search that doesn't return any crossings. And I can either save the search, or I can save and run the search, and when I click Save and Run, that'll go ahead and save the search in my list and run it. So now you can see that the search has shown up in my personal search list, Austin Public Crossings with Cans. It's now the header of my grid, and it shows 30 of 30 crossings, and it includes the cantilevers value that when I selected got added to my output. And I can work with this list of crossings in the grid just like I do with any other. So one more search type that we can run is the crossing quick search, and that's where you type in a portion of a crossing number into the text box and just click go. Quickly it searches for crossings whose crossing number includes the text that you've typed into the crossing quick search. So 4476 includes a lot that start with 4476, but also some that have 4476 in the middle, as you can see. And because of my filter capabilities, I can always click on the filter, and if I only want to see the ones that start with 4476, then simply click starts with, and I'm going to show rows with values that start with 4476 and hit the filter button. And now I'm showing only 80 of the 90 crossings from my quick search, the ones that start with 4476. You'll also notice that in the temporary search list, I now have a temporary search called Quick Search 1 4476 that I can edit and rerun. Now I'm going to go back and run my personal search, Austin Public Crossings with Cantilevers, and that does it for the search demo. Alright, let's take a look at the final component of Web TRIMS, the Crossing Details panel. The Crossing Details panel contains inventory data about individual crossings, and the symbol in the Crossing Number tab matches the symbol on the map. The Summary tab, which is the first thing you see when you open a Crossing Details, summarizes the basic information about the crossing, and then the rest of the tabs provide detailed inventory data. In the demo, we'll look at how to work with the Crossing Details tools, and we'll also learn how to add, edit, and delete review comments on individual crossings. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Crossing Details. Okay, I'd like to get back to my saved layout so I can watch the different panels interact with each other. So reset to my layout, and we see all the panels, and we're going to be working with Crossing Details. But first, what I'd like to do is, in my crossing grid, I'm going to select some crossings and double click on them to open them up in the Crossing Details. So there's one, here's another, first an abandoned and a couple of open crossings. And I can select all three of those in the grid just by clicking and dragging. And in my Crossing Search ribbon bar, Zoom to Selection we've seen before lets me zoom to the crossings that I have open in the details. Now in Crossing Details, the first button I want to show, we've got 3 crossings open. If I click the Close All button, no matter how many crossings I have open, it will close all of those crossing details. Now I can open them right back up again just by double clicking. So I've opened all 3, but I haven't selected all 3 this time. I have all 3 details available in the panel, and as I click on each one, I can click another tool, the Zoom to Crossing button, to zoom just to that crossing in the map, whether it's selected or not. And you'll see this last one is selected, so it's highlighted in the map as well as in the grid. Another button I can use is to take advantage of the latitude and longitude in the database to show these crossings in an external map. So we can look at Bing Maps, Flash Earth, Google Maps, MapQuest, or TopoZone. And I'm going to pick Google Maps for this crossing, 447628F. So when I click that button, it actually opens up another web browser and brings us to Google Maps, to the free map there, using the latitude and longitude, and also gives a label for the crossing. And I can zoom in and take advantage of this nice free online mapping that Google and so many others provide. So we can do a virtual tour with Google, which is always nice, and it's another source of information that we can use so that we can look at a crossing without having to visit it and confirm details about the information of the crossing. So I'll go ahead and close out of that. And now let's close some of the crossings. We'll close a couple and leave the one that we were just looking at open, and I'll pin away the map now and pin away the grid so that we can focus on the crossing details. So in the Summary tab, we have access to the crossing photos, and as we hover over them, we see their photo details. We can also click on a photo and click the View Photo button to get access to the full resolution photo. We can zoom in and out, and we can copy and paste that photo, put it into reports, whatever we like. Now instead of using the scroll bar, I can make a little more real estate inside of my window by hiding the ribbon bar just by double clicking the header for my ribbon bar. So I can double click it to make it show up, double click it to hide it again. Now let's take a look at the tabs of the crossing details. First, the summary. Up at the top we have classification information about the crossing. The crossing number, whether it's open or closed, public or private, at grade or grade separated, and the roadway type, so the basics. Then we've got some TxDOT reference information, the city and county and district. We've got primary street information. We've got summary of the railroad reference information, and then the controls that are found at the crossing are summed up here, and we have some safety data about the crossing. So let's take a look at the more detailed information about the crossing inventory in the other tabs. First, the location tab. So here we have the more detailed railroad reference information, the operator, what the timetable name is, railroad mileposts, information that TxDOT maintains, including region, district, and city, the primary street information, and the functional class of the road, alternate street information, and our GPS latitude, longitude, and elevation. Next is the detailed features of the crossing, including the rail information like the number of tracks and the crossing angle and speeds and number of train traffic, and road information such as sidewalks and road surface. Now if you see a little exclamation point, that means there's a data issue that TxDOT knows about and will be working to correct in the coming months as TRIMS comes online. We also have crossing information, whether it's illuminated, the phone number, traffic volumes and percent trucks, that sort of thing. Next we have the detailed crossing controls, which are organized by each roadway approach to the crossing. So for each approach, at the top we have information for the entire approach, like the number of masts, pedestrian gates, traffic signals, and so on. And then we have a little drawing of the approach that shows the roadway and the rail. And on the other side of the rail we look for nearby intersections and how far away they are and whether they're signalized and if they have preemption. Then we look at the left and right side of the crossing for stop signs, yield signs, crossbucks, flashing pairs, and other signs. And we do that on each side. And then we have pavement markings in the middle of the road. Next we have the Review tab. Here we can have inventory comments that may have been collected during the inventory, and then at the top we have review comments. And review comments are where you can actually enter your comments about the crossing data. So up in the top we have our crossing details toolbar. We click the Add button and we can select a comment type. For example, let's pick a data comment. And I have a comment about this crossing because I visited this crossing recently, and I'm going to say that the crossing road surface has changed since the inventory. So we'll type that in. And the idea here is that we're giving TxDOT better information so that they can improve the inventory at this crossing. So we're going to say that the road surface has changed since the inventory and now it's concrete. I click the Save button, and that's going to put my review comment into the information about this crossing so that TxDOT can respond to it and improve the crossing data. If I need to edit the comments, I can edit any comment that I have entered. I can't edit anyone else's. Maybe it was asphalt, not concrete. So I can save the edits to my comments at any time. And if I feel that a comment is no longer needed or was just a mistake, I can certainly delete that comment. Click the Delete button and that makes it go away. So the goal here is to not only let you see the data that TxDOT has about railroad crossings, but to actually help to improve the data so that TxDOT can make the best decisions related to railroad crossings moving into the future. Alright, that about wraps it up. Thank you very much for joining in this video introduction to TxDOT's Web TRIMS application. Feel free to use this video as a reference, and if you have additional questions, please contact the Web TRIMS administrators at rrd-trims@txdot.gov. Thanks again.